Something serious is happening behind the scenes, and it's already affecting the people at the top. Jeff Bezos recently sold almost $6 billion in Amazon stock. Warren Buffett is pulling back too, dumping shares and holding on to cash. He's not just selling, but has even issued a $177 billion warning to Wall Street. Ray Dalio is also warning that the economy could crash. Even Elon Musk says Trump's high tariffs are pushing the US into a recession. These aren't random moves. They reflect growing concern, and the wealthiest investors are already shifting their money. At the center of it all is the weakening US dollar. Trump's response has been to raise tariffs and pressure other countries to keep using the dollar in trade. This strategy is raising questions, not restoring confidence. If the dollar was stable, there wouldn't be a need for threats. Meanwhile, the US government is deep in debt, $37 trillion and climbing, with another $1.2 trillion needed just to stay afloat. Major investors are watching closely. They see the risks and they're adjusting fast. They're not making public announcements, but their actions say enough. While most people are being told things are under control, the wealthiest are quietly preparing for trouble. This isn't just a warning about slower growth. It's a signal that the dollar's global dominance... Okay, let's start with Jeff Bezos because his case is rather scary and interesting at the same time. Jeff Bezos, who created Amazon, is selling billions of dollars worth of his own company's stock. He dumped nearly $6 billion in shares this year alone, all within 30 days, just right after his wedding. When the founder of Amazon starts cashing out at this scale, something's wrong. This isn't planning. This is an exit strategy. In case you are not aware, Jeff Bezos and Trump had a very strong disagreement over his tariffs. So now that he is selling the stocks just days after having a fight with Trump, you can obviously see that there is a deep reason behind his actions. And he's not alone. Warren Buffett, who always says don't bet against America, is now backing away. Instead of investing in US companies, he's parking his money in short-term government debt. That means he doesn't trust the system long-term. Ray Dalio, another hedge fund giant, is also moving away from US tech and healthcare stocks. These people don't talk much. They don't need to. Their money speaks louder. So ask yourself, if these billionaires believe America is heading toward a crash, why are you still being told the economy is strong? Why is the White House saying inflation is under control? Why is Trump threatening countries to keep using the US dollar? Because deep down, they're scared. And they should be. In 2025, US companies are making one thing clear. They are going where the growth is, and that means China, India, and Southeast Asia. These regions have become essential to American business, even while Trump keeps pushing his America First message and raising trade barriers. The truth? Big US firms are quietly rejecting that strategy. Companies like Apple, Tesla, Starbucks, and ExxonMobil are not just holding their ground overseas. They are investing more, hiring more, and opening more facilities in Asia. Take Apple, for example. They are investing more in India instead of building factories in the US after Trump's tariffs. This is not about politics. It's about survival. These companies need the world's biggest, fastest-growing markets. And those markets are not in the US. They are in Asia. Let's look at the numbers. In China alone, US companies plan to reinvest nearly $14.6 billion in the next few years, according to the American Chamber of Commerce. In India, the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum reported that over $60 billion in American investment is expected by the end of 2025, driven by tech, energy, and manufacturing. Meanwhile, countries like Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia are seeing a sharp rise in US factory setups and retail expansions. Again, Apple is a perfect example. In China, its sales grew this year, even after being hit by $1.1 billion in tariffs. At the same time, it's massively expanding its operations in India, where it now manufactures a growing share of its iPhones. Apple also opened its second retail store in Mumbai earlier this year and is working closely with Indian suppliers to reduce dependency on China. Southeast Asia is also in the mix, with production hubs expanding in Vietnam and Malaysia. Tesla continues to build in China, where its new mega factory in Shanghai began battery production this year. But it's also scouting locations in India and Indonesia for EV-related facilities. It's clear that Tesla wants to lock in long-term positions in all major Asian economies, not just one. Trump's trade war rhetoric hasn't slowed them down. Also, Starbucks is going full speed in Asia as well. It opened 522 new stores in China this year and reported 8% sales growth in the country, even while US sales dropped. But that's not all. Starbucks is also investing heavily in India and Southeast Asia, including a joint venture in India with Tata and aggressive expansion in Vietnam and the Philippines. The goal? Reach new middle-class consumers that are growing in number and income every year. ExxonMobil, too, is widening its footprint. While it launched a huge new chemical plant in southern China, it is also investing in India's energy infrastructure and exploring LNG partnerships in Vietnam and Thailand. The company knows that Asia is the future energy growth market, and it's not picking just one country to bet on. In the biotech and finance sectors, the story is the same. US venture capital firms are pouring money into Chinese, Indian, and Southeast Asian startups. Pfizer signed a $6 billion deal with a Chinese drug maker. American health tech companies are partnering with Indian hospitals and Southeast Asian clinics to expand digital health platforms. Wall Street firms like BlackRock and Goldman Sachs are also opening new offices across Asia to catch local investment flows. But here's where it gets awkward for Washington. While these companies are expanding across Asia, Trump is trying to force them to bring everything back home. His America First policies are full of tariffs, export controls, and threats to punish companies that operate globally. That's why more and more CEOs are frustrated. These policies don't match how business works anymore. Most companies can't survive by focusing only on the US market. America has around 330 million people. China has over 1.4 billion, India 1.45 billion, and Southeast Asia adds another 600 million. That's nearly 3.5 billion consumers, 10 times the size of the US. That's where the demand is. That's where the profits are. America First might work as a campaign slogan. But for big business, Asia First is becoming the reality. These companies need China's scale, India's growth, and Southeast Asia's rising middle class. Pulling back now would mean losing future profits, and they're not willing to do that for politics. Next, let's talk about the US dollar that is in trouble. This isn't speculation anymore. It's happening right now. Countries are moving away from using the dollar in trade. Saudi Arabia didn't renew its agreement to sell oil only in dollars. That deal had existed since 1974, but now they are saying enough is enough. And more countries, especially those in BRICS, are moving in this direction. This change allows oil deals to be settled in other currencies, like the Chinese yuan. That weakens the dollar's role as the global reserve currency. Meanwhile, Trump's response has been to double down on threats. His trade war tactics, especially new tariffs on allies like Canada and the EU, are pushing countries away, not pulling them closer. Instead of negotiating, Trump is punishing. He placed 35% tariffs on Canadian imports and 15% on European goods. There was no serious deal, just pressure. But pressure doesn't rebuild trust. It does the opposite. This approach backfires because it signals weakness, not strength. If the dollar were secure, the US wouldn't need to threaten its own allies to keep using it. Trump's strategy is based on fear, not policy. He's trying to force loyalty with economic punishment, but all it's doing is accelerating the decline of US influence. Right now, some of the richest and smartest people in the world are warning that the US dollar is in serious trouble. These are not conspiracy theorists or internet influencers. These are billionaires, hedge fund managers, and global investors who have made their fortune by understanding money. And they're all saying the same thing. The world is starting to lose trust in the US dollar. Elon Musk, who is the richest man in the world and one of the most powerful voices in business, has publicly warned that global confidence in the dollar is fading, and he's already taking steps to respond. In a tweet earlier this year, Musk said, "The world is losing confidence in fiat currencies. The dollar's days as king are numbered." That's a serious warning. Musk isn't known for making financial predictions unless he sees real signs. He's not just worried, he's acting fast. Tesla and Musk's other companies are putting more focus on hard assets like lithium, solar power, energy storage, and AI tech. These are real things, not tied to the ups and downs of the dollar. Musk is also expanding into countries that are trying to move away from using the US dollar, like China and the BRICS nations. Musk has strongly criticized Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, calling the $5 trillion spending plan insane and destructive. He says it'll bury Americans in debt slavery, kill millions of jobs, and tank industries like electric vehicles. Worse, Trump's crazy tariffs will jack up prices and spark a recession by late 2025, crushing the dollar's value. Economists back Musk's panic. The dollar already plummeted 10.8% in early 2025. If it crashes, your savings will vanish, groceries will cost a fortune, and gas will be unaffordable. Musk's pushing for massive budget cuts and even Bitcoin to dodge this disaster, but the clock's ticking. He's not exaggerating. He sees this as a full-scale crisis. Why is this important? Because Musk has access to inside information that most people don't. He watches central bank moves, government decisions, and global financial trends closely. If he's pulling away from the dollar, that means he sees big risks ahead. He knows that printing too much money, borrowing too much, and using the dollar as a political weapon is making the world nervous. It is not just Musk, but Stanley Druckenmiller also. He is one of the most respected investors in the world, and recently said he no longer believes in the dollar. That's a huge statement. He helped George Soros break the British pound in the 1990s. When Druckenmiller speaks, global markets listen. According to him, the US has printed too much money, taken on too much debt, and damaged its own credibility. Trump's tariff policy hasn't built alliances. It's driven key partners away. India is deepening its energy partnership with Russia. The European Union is accelerating efforts to settle trade with China in yuan. And within BRICS, member countries are now openly working on a new currency to bypass the US dollar entirely. Even longtime US allies are quietly reducing their dollar reserves. What's causing this shift is more than economics. It's political retaliation. The Trump administration isn't using tariffs to protect American workers. It's using them to punish countries for acting independently. When India bought discounted oil from Russia, the White House didn't respond with negotiation. It issued threats. When the EU resisted isolating China, the answer was new trade penalties. While the US doubles down on America first, its allies are pivoting away. Germany, France, and the UK are now trading with China using yuan-based settlements. They're investing in infrastructure and routes that bypass the US entirely. Even Japan and South Korea, two of America's closest security partners, have signed new trade deals with BRICS nations. These countries aren't just reacting. They're preparing for a future where US leadership can no longer be taken for granted. A world where Washington's economic pressure no longer works like it used to. Billionaires are protecting themselves.